In this one-page WordPress tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this single-page website. I was inspired by a design that I saw and I wanted to pull it apart and figure out how it worked. I then created my own images and designs so that I could show you how you can make this type of website design yourself. The main wow factor in this page design comes from the use of parallax sections. If you're interested in building a WordPress Parallax website, this would be a good tutorial to watch. If you want to make a standard one-page website, you can just choose to use a standard background and not enable the parallax effect. I created this site with the Divi theme. Divi is one of my favorite WordPress themes. If you haven't checked out the Divi theme yet, hit the eye icon at the top of the screen to see my review of it. I'll also include an affiliate link to Divi in the description below this video. If you decide you want to get the Divi theme, this link will provide me with a commission, and that helps me to keep making tutorials like this one right here. This tutorial assumes that you already have your website set up and that you've configured and have the Divi theme and everything installed. If you don't, you can learn how to do this step by step in my How to Build a Website Beginner's WordPress tutorial, and I'll walk you through everything that you need to know. Just click on the eye icon or look for that in the description below this video. We're going to cover a lot in this video, and I'm really excited to show you guys how to do all this stuff. Let's run down the list of what we're going to learn in this tutorial. In the first section, I'm going to show you how to take this background image and make it fill up the full window. We're then going to learn how to make this into a parallax website and how to use parallax to make this illusion of the images changing on the screen here. We're going to use a blurb section to create a bullet list, and we're going to learn how to use a specialty module to place images or elements next to each other inside of a row. I'll show you how to add a gradient background inside the Divi theme. Then we'll learn about how to optimize a section for viewing it on desktop or on mobile devices. And finally, we'll learn how to make links inside of a single page to make this a truly one-page WordPress website. So as you can see, we're going to cover a lot in this tutorial. If you want to skip ahead to just the sections that you're interested in, scroll down to the description below this video where you'll find an index of each topic that I cover. If you want to get some website building practice and you want to follow along, I'll include a link to the graphics that I've used on this page. You can look for that link in the description below. So if you're excited to get started, let me know by hitting the thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button now, and let's learn how to make this awesome one-page website. Alright, so let's dive in and get started making our one-page WordPress website. So I've got everything sort of set up and configured here already. I've got my folder here where I've got all of the files that I need, which I talk about in my sort of getting started, starting a website and thinking about design video, which you can check out as part of my full tutorial series. So I've got my color palette here. I've got my optimized images here and my raw images right there. That really helps a lot in getting started. I've also pre-configured the theme, which I talk about in how to configure Divi with this slide-in style of menu and header. So the menu slides in here. Of course, there's several different options for headers in Divi, but I think that for this site, this looks really good. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll do that by creating a new page. And we'll give this page a name of One Page WordPress Website, just to give it a name of something. So we've got One Page WordPress Website here, and then I'm going to click Publish, and then we're going to use the Divi Builder here. And let's go ahead and switch over to the front end Visual Builder, which is what I like to use. Okay, so let's go ahead and start designing this page. I like to throw in the background first, especially if I already have it, or at least get close to the background color that I think I want for it. I've already got the images for this website. Let's go ahead and add them. Alright, so I've selected this image right here for the background. Just go upload image, and you can see it's already in there. Obviously, it's not full height, and for this I want to show you guys how to do a full height section using the Divi theme. It does take a little bit of code, so I'll show you how to do that right now, since I just want to see, I like to sort of see what my end result is as I'm working. So if I already know I want this full height, which I do, let's go ahead and put that in there. So we go over here, we go to the Advanced tab, and then we click on Custom CSS, and then in the main element, you type in this code, which is some CSS code. So that's height, 100 VH, semicolon, and you can see it already made it full height here, and then you can't really scroll down much, we just have the footer here. You can see that it basically figures out what the window size is that your viewer is looking at it in, and it has the background image fill up, or actually this whole section fill up that whole browser window size. And don't think that I'm like some sort of coding genius and I just know that off the top of my head. What I did was just went over here to Google and I searched for what they call it is 100% viewport height, CSS code, and then there's several articles that show you how to do that. So it's not that I'm like some crazy coding genius that knew how to do that. I knew to search for viewport height, and then that's where I find the code. And I honestly don't even remember. I wrote it down for this tutorial, but I don't usually remember what that code is. I always just look it up. So, don't be afraid to look it up. Don't think you need to know everything. I mean, that's the beauty of the internet, is anytime you need to know something, you can just look it up. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a section here. So I want to do a full width section here, and you can just, what's awesome about Divi is you can just type in. So we're going to type in text to get the text module to pop up. And then we're going to type in the text that we want. And you can see the text is already showing up here, and let's go ahead and make that a heading 1 tag, and then below that, I'm going to add just some regular text. Okay, and then let's go ahead and adjust the settings for those. For the text, we want the text color to be light, because obviously we've got a dark background. We want the orientation to be centered, and you can, of course, also, in the text section here, when you're typing everything in, you can also highlight it and use this. It doesn't matter, you can do it either way, it just depends on what you're doing. Do know that I want the text to be a little bit larger, so I'm just going to adjust, so the header text, so this will adjust the H1 size. Unfortunately, there's no other really easy way of adjusting the size of the other H tags. I think you can do it in the Divi settings, or you can do it with the visual builder when you click on the text, and then you can highlight it and change the color and change the size. A little bit annoying. I wish that they had that in here, but for this we can use an H1 tag and we've got no problems there. Okay, and then let's also change the regular text size. So we'll get this font size a little bit larger, something like that. Okay, and then the next thing, let's add a button. So to add a button, we just hover over the gray module, push the plus button. You can just type in button, or I can see it right here. And then we'll add our button. And then let's get this design going. So I want the text color to be light. Button, we want to use custom stylings because rarely do I want the button to look like that, although the white with the gray is pretty cool. So text color is okay. Let's just change the background. And also in the Divi settings, I'll just show you guys this real quick. I've already added in these custom colors. So I already have all the colors that I need from my color palette put into the Divi theme. Makes changing colors so quick and simple when you do that. I'll show you guys that in just a minute. Let's just get this centered here. Whoops, not right. Centered. And, let's just adjust the text size a little bit just to make the button a little bit bigger, just like that. So there we go. We got this first section pretty nicely cleaned up. And you can just see, if you haven't used Divi before, which I imagine most of you have, but it can be so fast and simple to sort of design your website. I really like that. Let me just show you guys that setting real quick for adjusting, for putting in your own custom color palette items. If you go back to the dashboard, oops, oh yeah, always save before leaving. That is super important. That's something I always forget, and I'm really glad that they've got that warning in there. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but it seems to work like 99% of the time to remind you to save. So I do really appreciate that. Leave page. So you go down here to Divi, and then you go to Theme Options, and then right here we've got the color picker. So if you can just click on any of the colors that are in there and add in your own custom colors from your palette. Really important to make this work, and it's something I always forget to do. Scroll down to the bottom and click Save Changes, because if you don't click Save Changes, the color palette won't change. All right, so let's go back to adjusting that page. Let's go back to the Visual Builder. Okay, and let's go ahead and add a new section. So we do that by just clicking the plus here. And this is where we're going to start using that WordPress Parallax, or the Parallax effect. Let's go ahead and we're going to do a regular section for this. And since I know what the background is, it's got that phone icon like I showed you guys before on the left. What I want to do is do a 1/3, 2/3 column split here, or row with a column split. And then we can, just to make sure that this stays in there, we can just put a divider module in there, just to make sure that on all browsers and everything that works fine. So we'll click on that. And we'll add a text module in here. I'm not going to edit it right now until I add the background in. I'll just put that in there. Let's go ahead and add in our first parallax background. Click on the gear icon for the section. So the sections are always blue, as you can see there. Upload an image. I've already got the image uploaded and ready to go. It's this one here with the dark wood in it. Upload image. And then here, we want to turn the parallax effect on. And that's going to give sort of zooms in a little bit on the image, as you can see. And that's something you definitely want to keep in mind when you're using the parallax effect, is that you want to make sure that your image, you can see how wide I've made this image here with a lot of space around it. You want to make sure that that image is really wide because it's going to zoom in to be able to take effect, to make the parallax effect work. And so it's something definitely, again, trial and error. Sometimes you got to use trial and error to make sure the image works and looks good in your layout. But definitely you know going into it that you're going to have a little bit more wide spacing. And then to make this specific effect work, I know from testing, and that's how design works, is you try and you test things and you fiddle with it until you get it looking right, but that you need to use the CSS method. And there we go, you can see sort of the parallax effect already working. And let's go ahead and add in our text here. Oops, where did the text module go? And you guys, if you're ever having problems with Divi and finding something, you can always click down here. They've just added this recently where you can see this sort of back-end style. So if you're ever having a problem finding a section or manipulating something with the Divi builder, click on this and you get that wireframe view, and it allows you to really easily move things around and see what's going on. I really like the visual builder, but sometimes, you know, it gets a little bit fussy. All right, so let's go back here and we'll add in this text. So every page is mobile ready, and at the end of this video, near to the end in the last section, I'm going to show you guys how to make modifications to your website if you find that in testing that something doesn't look quite right. It looks fine in like desktop view, but it doesn't look quite right on tablets and on mobile devices. I'm going to show you guys how you can make it so that it'll look good on both. I mean, it does take a little bit of extra work, but it's definitely worth it to make sure all of your viewers are getting that great experience. Let's go over to the design here. On the text, we're going to make the text color light because we've got the dark background. Change the orientation to center. And then, since this is a heading, just click and close the text there and go back to the heading size. Make this bigger. There we go. Right now I'm going to show you guys how to use the blurb module to make sort of a bullet list. And it's really, really cool technique. I really like it. So let me just type in the text here real quick. Boom. And so now we're going to add an image. There's two positions that we can have the image icon, and we're going to see that here in just a moment. Let's go ahead and we want to use a little writing icon. There we go. And then to change the color of the icon, you can see it popped up here as red because that's my default highlight color, but I don't want it to be red in this case. Go over to design, then click on image and icon, and we can just easily change it. I've already got my colors, as I said before, in there. You can see how fast that makes it. I want to circle the icon, just because for this blurb section, I want these to have circles around them. Of course, you don't have to have circles around them, but it's a nice option. We need to change the icon color to white so that it shows up on that background. There we go. And then we're going to switch the icon placement to left. And then that's really kind of tiny there. So let's go ahead and use the icon font size to sort of make that a little bit bigger, about like that. And then let's get the text going. Text color light. And then the header text, I also want to use the same color as the icon here. So we can just do that. And let's make the header font size a bit bigger. It's kind of small. And then we'll make the text font size, whoops, where is it? Body text here. Make that a little bit bigger so it's easy for our viewers to read. There we go. And now I've got two more bullet points I want to add in and sort of keep everything consistent. There's a couple different things you can do. What I like to do, since I already know what the design I'm going to use is, I like to just copy it. So boom, boom. So now I've got 3 different things, and then I can just change the text and the icon. The other thing you can do with Divi, which is really cool, is you can use a keyboard shortcut, which is question mark, and that pulls up all of the shortcodes, and one of the ones that I like, or shortcuts rather, one of the ones that I like to use is the copy module style. So you use Command Alt C, and then you can copy the styles on all the modules and paste them onto all the modules using Command Alt V. And I'll link in the description below to all the Divi shortcuts. They've got it on their website here, but they can come in really handy, especially if you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again. Checking out these shortcuts can really make designing your pages faster. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and quickly modify all of these because I think you guys get the idea on how to do this module thing. So I'm just going to do a little fast forward here. Okay, so there we go. We got that section out of the way, and now we're going to start to really see the WordPress Parallax or the Divi Parallax come up here as we add this next section in. This is definitely this. I'm going to use the 1/3, 2/3 again. This definitely is sort of a trick. It's kind of like a sleight of hand with this effect. Basically, what I did is I created a template using Photoshop, and let me just go ahead and add this in so we can sort of talk about it while we're looking at what I actually did. And then again, we're going to turn the parallax effect on, and as I said before, I discovered that you need to use the CSS method. That gets it to look right. So you can see how it sort of slides. It looks like the image is changing and the phone is staying in place, but what I did to get this effect was I created a template in Photoshop. I used the exact same placement of the phone and then the background, and then I just swapped out the background image and the image that I used inside the phone in Photoshop when I created the different backgrounds. And then, since it was a template, made sure everything lined up exactly right. And that's how I did this sort of like kind of a sleight of hand here. But it's pretty cool effect. Pretty cool effect, I think. Add just a divider in here, just so there's something in there. Okay, so we got our divider in there. And then again, just search for text. I'm gonna add this text icon in here. Just going to go ahead and fast forward through this setup because it's just sort of a basic module with text and image. So you guys can just, and we'll get to the next section where we talk about using a specialty section. One more thing I wanted to point out is that sometimes when you change the text font size, you can see how all of the text got kind of jammed up together. You can adjust that by using the text line height here. Don't quite understand how it works, like why am I making the line height smaller than the default? But that's how you adjust that. So if you see, like, if you change the size of your text and everything's getting bunched up, go down here to the text line height and adjust that. Okay, so there we go. We've got that section there. We've got this cool parallax effect going on here. And now we're going to use a specialty section. If you haven't used a specialty section before, it does some pretty cool stuff. And I mean, the main cool thing that it allows you to do is have one column to sort of be steady like this. You've got one column that's just all one size, and then the other columns can have multiple different columns inside them. So you can have one row that's just straight, and then you can have one column that's just straight, and then the next column you can have alternating like single section or basically like 2/3 and then quarter sections inside that. Is that right? No, 1/3 sections inside that. So we're going to go ahead and use this one here since we're using the 2/3, 1/3. Just go ahead and add a row. The first row is going to be full width. And then I just like to add my background in first when I have it because it just makes designing a lot easier. Use this one here. Turn on the parallax because we're still using the parallax effect. There we go, that's looking cool. And then we'll add some text in here. Color here, actually I want to change the color, and since this is a header section, I want to change the color to just straight up black, just to make sure it's as easy for our viewers to read as possible. I think that's really important, is making everything as easy for your viewers to read as possible. And let's just make sure that it's centered. Let's make that a little bit bigger just for fun. There we go. And then I'm going to add another text section below that. I could also just add the text, just regular right below that, but I'm just going to add another text section. Okay, we'll go over here to design. text color center. I want to make the text black again, just make sure it's really easy for my viewers to read. Definitely don't recommend getting too crazy with the colors you guys use on text. Make it as easy to read as possible for your viewers. Don't try to get too fancy with the text. Make that a little bit bigger. Again, I'm going to change the line height. Whoa. Change the line height here, just to make sure everything is easy to see. There we go. And now what I want below this is I want to have two buttons side by side, and this is where the specialty section comes in handy. So we're going to click on the plus icon here. Bam, side by side right there. And then we'll add two buttons. And we'll click on design so we can design the look of our button. We want to put it centered inside that column. I'm going to change it to light. There's no reason why I'm changing it to light, but I'm just going to because that's what I'm going to do. And then to add the custom styles, click on button and then use custom styles. I think the size is okay. Button text color, actually, I want to be this red. The actual button background color, I want to be white. Button, so it doesn't look, I think it kind of looks freakish with, well, I don't know, you could probably do it tastefully, but I just like to have the button just be all one color. So you can either just change the button border color here to white also. There we go. And now to add the next button side by side, I'm just going to duplicate this button, put it over here, and then just adjust the settings real quick. And then design, button text color, I want to be white. The button background color, I want to be the red, just to contrast with the first button. And the button border color is hiding from me. There it is. And then we click check. So there we go. And then I'm going to add one more full width section. I'm going to put in another title here. And if you guys are looking for pre-made page templates with the Divi theme for your website, I've got a whole listing of them on my website. I've sort of pulled all the ones together from the Divi website and from a couple other places, so you guys can easily find a bunch of cool page templates for your website. And I'll link to that in the description below this video. Actually, I guess that's the same text as I have up there. That's fine. You guys get the idea. Okay, and then below that, I want to add another two-column section. I'm going to add some images into each one here. Oops. And also, as I show you guys how to do in my full tutorial, I set the image module to not automatically do an animation because I almost never want an animation when I'm using the image module. I really want to use that really sparingly, that technique. I'm just going to duplicate this. Check. Duplicate. And then I'll put one, duplicate one more time, put one over here. Duplicate that, and then we can just go in here and change the image to the next one. So you guys can see how that works there. Let's do it real quick here too. Whoops. Check, save. And then this is a good time to save. Always try to remember to save every now and then. Make sure you don't lose your work. Nothing more annoying than having gone through and designed a bunch of stuff and then have something happen. I mean, Divi does have some fail-safes that are supposed to prevent that from happening, but I think it's just best to make sure. All right, so we'll do one more regular section below this. Add in my background. This one here. Use the parallax effect. CSS. All right, and again, this is same thing that I did before. So just fast forward to this section, and we'll get to the next section where I'm going to talk about how to set up. Well, we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about using creating a gradient for your background, which is really easy in Divi now. It's a new feature that they added, and I really like that. And then how to make a section so that it works well on mobile and works well on desktop when it doesn't seem like it's going to work, when it doesn't work right for one or the other. So we're going to get to that right now. Just fast forward through building this part. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add our final section here. It's going to be another regular section. And for this one, since we're not using this parallax background, we're just going to use a regular background. I'm going to do 50-50 on this one. And we're going to add an image on the left. Then we'll talk about doing the gradient background. And so you see I've added an animated GIF here. On the right, we'll do text. Actually, I'm not going to do text right now because I won't be able to see it because the text I want is light colored. So let's go ahead and do the gradient background. So to do the gradient background, just click on here, click on background. And we've got this gradient tab right here. I'll click the plus button. And so for this color, I know I want like a light gray for the first side, maybe something like that. And for this color here, I want to use the red. And we can change the direction. So right now we've got a really soft gradient, but I want to make this like a hard line. And there's two ways to do this. The first way I did it when I made this page template was I actually used a Photoshop file that I created and sort of just played around with getting the slash and the sizing of it just right. But I think that this works just as well. And what we do is we just adjust the start position and the end position like this until we get that perfect line there. And you might want to, it's up to you. You might want to fuzz it up a little bit like this by having it be a little bit different, or just have it be a hard edge like that. I guess basically when you make it even, that's how it works. And I sort of like it going right across this image here. So there we go. I'll add some text on this side, and then we'll talk about why I don't think that this works for mobile and how we can make this section also look good for mobile. Give me a moment here. And then the other thing that I'm seeing here that I want to do is I want to add a little bit of space, but just on this side here. So we can do that by going over to the settings for this row. And then if we go to design and then spacing, we've got the option of changing the padding on column 1 and column 2. So I'm going to just change the padding a little bit on the top. Let's try 40 pixels. Let's try 50 pixels. There we go. Just to get it down so it's going to be centered a little bit more, I'm going to add a button right below this. I'm going to design the button. Make the button size a little bit bigger. Whoa, 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 too big. All right, and then button color, white. Whoops, actually no, I want the text to be red. Background color to be white. The border color is actually probably red. Yeah, it was red. So I'll just make it white so you couldn't really tell what color it was. And then just want this to be centered. Boom, there we go. Oh, let me make this, whoa. Let me make the font bold too, just so it really stands out. There we go. Cool. So there we go. Now, this is why I don't think that this particular design works on, you know what, I just want to make this a little bit, make this a little bit wider, so a little bit more padding. That's a cool thing with Divi, is that you can just drag out the padding that you want and make things a little bit bigger. I just want to look up the page here and just see if there's anything else I want to change on the padding. I think I did want to make the padding a little bit bigger here too. There we go. Okay, so now we can sort of test this on, and this isn't a full test. This is sort of gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. Really, before your site goes live, if you have time, you should definitely pull it up on an iPad if you have an iPad or another tablet, and pull it up on a phone just to make sure that you're not seeing anything weird that you didn't notice before. But this gives you an idea of what that's going to look like. So scroll down here. And I guess that this is okay, but I don't like how this text is getting into the light gray. I'd really like the slash to be up here more for a mobile device. So let's go ahead and I'll show you guys how to do that. So what we do is we go back. I just like to go back to the desktop setting. And we're actually going to duplicate this section since we want everything to be the same, but really the background is what we want to be different. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the slash so it goes the other way. And I guess we can edit it right on the tablet mode so we can see what we're doing here. So I'm going to go to the background of this section. And I'm just going to adjust the gradient direction so that all of this text shows up where I want it. Let's go a little bit more. Like that. I'd also want to maybe... Yeah, that's fine. So I think that for mobile, this looks a lot better than this does, because it's sort of like we kind of lose our text here. So now, how do we make it so that this shows up on mobile and this shows up on desktop? And it's actually really easy with Divi, and you can do this with just about anything. Like if for some reason just the text doesn't look right, you can do it with just the text. But I'll show you guys how to do it with a section. So we go to the gear icon on the section here, and then we go to Advanced, and we click on Visibility. And then we click on Disable on Phone and Tablet, because we don't want that to show up on phone and tablet, which means it will show up on desktop. And we do the opposite for this second section that we made, because this does not look good for desktop, so we don't want this to show up on desktop like that. So we just click on the gear icon, and then we go to Advanced, Visibility, and then we do Disable on Desktop. And you can see when we're looking at the desktop view, it gets sort of grayed out. So that's just an indication to us that this is not going to show up on desktop view. And then if we go and look at tablet, you can see that now the tablet one is showing properly, and the first one, the desktop one that we created, is grayed out. And it'll be the same for the phone. Grayed out, not grayed out. So there we go. So now the next thing we need to do is turn this into a one-page WordPress website. And it's pretty simple to do that. We need to do two things. We need to create a menu, because generally you want to be able to sort of go up and down between that. And then I like to have a little bit of the navigation here, and Divi has that option to have the navigation along the side for each section of your website. So let's save again. And I'm just going to add the navigation first, because it's really easy, something really easy to show you guys. We're going to click on Edit Page. And then to add that navigation, we just click on the dot navigation there, and we click on Update. And then we can go back to the Visual Builder, and that'll show us what our page looks like. So now we've got the dot navigation, and that's automatically set up to go to each section on our website. But if we want our menu to go to each section on our website, we need to add in a little bit of, it's not really code, but just sort of an indication so that when we're making our menus of where each of these sections are. So what I did when I did this is I just got a little notepad out, and I just wrote down what each one of these were so I didn't forget. So the first one, we don't need it because that's going to be just the main link to the page. Will take us right to the top of the page. But if we want to have a menu item bring us down to the second section, what we need to do is click on this section icon here, click on Advanced, and then CSS ID and classes. We're going to create a CSS ID. So I'm going to call this one mobile, since this section refers to mobile, just something that I can remember. I'm also going to write it down on my notepad because we're going to need that later. We're going to go to the second section. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to, but we need to call this section something else. So I'm going to call this one build. And we're going to go down to the third section. We're going to do the same thing. Doesn't matter what kind of a section it is. We just need to give it an ID. If you are using the specialty section like this, you just want to give that main section, so just the standard one, not the additional columns, an ID, unless, of course, you wanted it to link to those additional columns. And you can do the exact same thing with text or any other element on your website. For this, I think it just works well to have each section have its own link to it, basically. Okay, so this one here is going to be called templates. Scroll down. This one's going to be called support. Scroll down. Whoops. For some reason, I duplicated the support one, so we'll just trash one of these. I got to go make sure that I didn't trash the one where I put that CSS ID in. I didn't. And then we'll make the last one here. Sign up. And I definitely think you should don't use a space, use some sort of filler in between. I like a dash because dashes almost always work, or just use one word. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is make our menu here not look like this, which links to the sort of by default WordPress has it linked to just all the pages that you create. But we want to have it linked to the pages that we're creating on our one-page WordPress website here. So to do that, I'm going to save. We don't want our work to get lost. And since this is a one-page website, we want to make this the front page. So let's deal with that first. So we're going to go to the dashboard here. And by the front page, it means that when people come to our URL, this is the page that's going to show up. And so we need to set that up. And so we do that by going to Settings, Reading. And then we want to use a static page. And then we want to use that page we just created, which was the one-page WordPress website. And we click on Save Changes. Always remember to save changes. And then we want to go and we want to adjust the menus. Let's click on Appearance, Menus. And we're going to create a new menu. Since this is a one-page website, we're going to call it Main Menu. You can call it whatever you want. And then for the links to each thing, what we need to do is we need to go to Custom Links. And then since in this particular example, the links we want are on the home page. If you were doing this as a landing page, you'd want to find out the URL of that actual landing page and then do the URL and then slash hash symbol, whatever you want to call it. And then remember that we wrote down all of those different names. So the first one was mobile. And I'm just going to call this link mobile, but you can call the link whatever you want. And then we add it to menu. And so I'm doing slash because this is the home page of our website. So it's automatically going to go here. Again, if you're doing this on a different page as like a landing page, something like that, you want to get the URL of that landing page and then do slash and then hash whatever the name you called it. Okay, so we'll just do the other ones here real quick. Don't forget to put the hash in, really important. Let's make sure I put the hash in. Okay, there we go. And then we do save menu. Again, always important to remember to save. And then we can do, let's do manage locations for this. So we want this to be our primary menu. So main menu, that's the one we just created. And we'll click Save Changes. Really important step there. And then we can go back to our page now. Actually, we can just go back to our home page since we made this the home page of our website. And if we click on the menu, we can now go between the different sections that we've created right in our menu. So that's how, whoops, except for apparently I messed up that link. Oh, I messed up that link too. That's weird. Huh. Okay, let's go figure out what I did here. That's pretty embarrassing. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Appearance, menus, mobile. Oh, I didn't put the hash in. As I said, really important to put the hash in. And didn't put the hash in there either. So you see, the reason why you need the hash is because otherwise it's going to try to go to the URL of your website /templates, which doesn't exist. So the hash tells it that it's going to the CSS ID on that page rather than to an actual page. And again, don't forget to save. So now when we go back to our site, now everything will be working. We'll just double check. Boom, build, templates, everything's there. So there you go. That is how you make a one-page website with WordPress and the Divi theme. Some pretty fun stuff that we covered in this tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know by leaving them in the comments below. And if you like this tutorial, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next tutorial.